Welcome back, guys, to another Dark Souls 3 stream. This time we'll be finalizing our build at Firelink Shrine for the initial stages of our playthrough. We did mention earlier that it would be a strength build. We're going to be traveling over to the Lothric initial areas and making it through that area. Hopefully we'll be able to complete most of Lothric in this stream here. We've been wanting to do a longer one. We're going to be making some comparisons between what we're seeing here in Dark Souls 3 and our speculations in Elden Ring. We'll be talking more about build making with respect to strength and just overall quest lines, gameplay, main story points that we want to hit off on this initial first part trip to Lothric. So we're just going to go ahead and make sure we have everything on this build that we want to have for the first stages here. Again, I'm going to be just making sure that the chat window is working properly on this other device here and seeing that it is. And go ahead and just equip things that I need. We did pick up a couple PvP items that we want to put on our hotbar here so we can press triangle and switch some of these things out. I do want to put this on here. Our black separation crystal's already there. Put the dried finger on there. I want to keep my hotbar here relatively short. I don't want to have too many things on here, and I also don't want to be wasting resources. So I'm going to go ahead and actually put my embers on my start bar. I'm noticing now that I have some soul items here. Again, I don't really want to waste too many resources early game, so I'm just trying to decide what to put where. I'll put my homeward bones here as well. But I'm actually going to put them in this first slot so they're easier to get to. I'll kind of move some things around. Actually, yeah, I like that better. Put our crystal here. Put our embers in the last slot for now. Those might end up on our hotbar later on. That pretty much completes that. We want to make sure, this is just a personal preference here, but I want to have certain gestures. I'm going to go ahead and put the bow first. A little bit here, nonverbal communication can always be nice for players that don't have the chat enabled. I really would rather have the wave first. Perhaps then the call over. Making sure. Funnily enough, I'm not going to have point down on here right away. Alright, now we got those gestures on there that we picked up. We'll go ahead and we'll now head right over to the high wall of Lothric. So we're going to go ahead and teleport over there now. The torch, yes. I kind of wish that I picked that up before leaving here. I won't need that right away, but it is kind of nice just so you can see things a little bit more easily for the areas that are dark. That'll come into play later on in the game. Still early game, but we don't quite need it just yet. Next time we head over to Firelink Shrine, we'll be sure to pick up the torch if we can remember to do that. Teleporting over here, it puts us in a room. There's really nothing much in the room. always looks like it'll be something, but it isn't. But if you check each side, it's kind of the same thing, except for one of them is a door. So doors here, walking up to them, a lot of them will have messages. Sometimes they don't say anything, which would usually indicate that it's not a door we can use. It'll either say something like open, or door does not open from the side, or this door is locked, something like that. You'll get a message. There's a lot that you can actually see differences between the doors here. So we're going to go ahead and open this one up. That'll let us progress further through this area. So now that brings us to the High Wall of Lothric, which is the first main area of the game after Firelink Shrine. So going through this area, we're going to meet up with a couple NPCs. There'll be a couple bonfires. There will be a boss fight at the end and some very important items that we want to pick up for our playthrough here so that we can best optimize the strength build that we have going. There's also some important weapons here for a strength build. I mentioned the Claymore earlier. That'll be in here. So we want to make sure that we sort of go through and get everything that's important for a strength build. So we're just going to start to explore the area around here. A lot of these boxes are just great fun to roll through. Now, if we hit these first stairs down here, it'll bring us to the first bonfire that'll let us teleport back. So if we go ahead and we open up the menu here, the overall area is called High Wall of Lothric. Same name as the first bonfire, so that gives us a little bit of perspective as we move through. Some more things that we can sort of break, you know, just for fun. Why not? Now, there's a couple ways that we can go. We can go this way. There are a couple items, and then there's a shortcut later that way, down. And then there's this direction, which is where most people go first, usually. This will get us to... This is technically progression to go this way. So I'm going to take the other way first, having already taken out the crossbow guy. There's a couple enemies that we can see walking around here. Some of them won't aggro, but there are some dogs, so we're going to try to pull those back. Letting them bounce off your shield is sort of the easiest way to fight them. I won't be going into too much depth about how to fight every single enemy, but some of these first ones I'll explain a little bit more for anybody who's new. You don't really want to try to trade with the dogs. They're pretty quick, but they're staggered very easily simply by bouncing off your shield. There's a couple more difficult enemies that we might have to take out with some critical attacks. We've got this guy up here, halberd guy, and then I'm pretty sure we've got an axe guy on the stairs. They're a little bit bigger than our usual hollows. Pretty easy to get behind them. Stagger them down from there. Doesn't seem like that enemy will aggro. Up here, we do have a couple of enemies. I believe an item is up here. One of them does go through a transformation stage, so we want to make sure we take out that one before anything. Now, that first enemy that we took out, you probably heard, it was starting to go through its transformation stage. If you don't immediately take that first one out, it will transform into one of the, a specific kind of enemy. I'll mention it when we see it. It's quite difficult to fight, but you can farm embers off of it. So that is one strategy. Kind of just go through and we'll take out all of these enemies around so that they don't bother us. And we'll pick up this item here. I miss it every time going through, so I figured I would actually do the side area first here, pick up the longbow and some standard arrows. One thing that you can do, if you have the dexterity to wield a bow, we unfortunately don't have the dexterity, but if you did, you could simply just put the bow in your offhand, go ahead and just, if you hit L2 and hold it down, you can go right into your aim, and you can zoom in so you can have a better view of the area a little bit. So for those of you that don't have binoculars, this is one way where you can see what's going on without actually having the binoculars or going into the area. We don't have the equip load to have this or the dexterity to have this right now, so we're going to just go ahead and pick up the item that we need to do that. Before we move on from this side area, we'll go ahead and take out these enemies down here. We'll see that the axe, the bigger axe hollow, it has a bit more health, but we can stagger him down, and he hurts a little bit more than the other guys, but the knight class and the longsword just take care of it. It is rather able to shred all these enemies up for us. Might as well take out all these other enemies. Basically free souls, so having done that, we can head back to the bonfire. You don't necessarily have to sit at the bonfire each time, but we might as well, since it's on the way. We'll get our little bit of health bar back, and now we can do this this other path here, which is progression. The couple of enemies that we're going to want to take out first. Unfortunately, we did not get to him fast enough. So it was unfortunate that we didn't take the lantern enemy out first. That scream that he does aggroes a couple of other guys. So taking him out first cancels the ambush a little bit, but we can just take these guys out here. We'll grab this item. And we'll go ahead and we'll do this upper path here first. So you guys can see, taking out this enemy first, these other two don't aggro, because he doesn't have a chance to finish his scream. Whoop. Oh, double whoop. Now we'll come up here and we will grab these. The binoculars, I mentioned earlier after grabbing the, I believe it was the longbow, that we would have something that would let us look around a little bit. We didn't have the dexterity to put the longbow on our build, but this we can actually put on here. So we're going to go ahead and move some things around a little bit. I think we'll take this off and we'll go ahead and put the binoculars on. And we can use those, just kind of check out what they do. We don't get the crosshair, but we are able to look around the same way that we can with the longbow, zoomed in, zoomed out, what have you. And now we're just going to go ahead and we're going to put our Homeward Bones back on our hotbar. Now, one thing that I did forget to do, unfortunately, was to go ahead and cash in that Estus shard that we found up on the roof of Firelink. So before I take the lower path, I'm going to go ahead and zoom back over to Firelink, because we really want to optimize this out. It wasn't the best first run through this little area here. We did have to use some resources. Our health bar got knocked down a little bit. Not that I'm unconfident that we could make it through here, but we want to give ourselves the best chance of making it through without dying and having our souls in some random spot. So we might as well make our health bar a little bit easier to manage, head back over to Firelink Shrine, and go ahead and use that Estus shard with Andre and show off how that mechanic works. Alright, so we do have some souls that we brought back that we can use at the Shrine Handmaiden. We're going to go ahead and go to Andre before anything.
Ah, well, Matt, 'tis good to see ye in good health. What needs smithing this day?
And we're going to go into explore some of these parts of his menu here. We already exhausted his dialogue. We briefly looked at the reinforced Estus flask option, but we're going to go back in because now that we have a shard, we can actually do something with it. And then we'll be able to have a few more things available to us. It's always nice to check if you have anything to repair. Any broken equipment would show up in these menus. We haven't broken anything, even though that we've cleaned off a couple walls. It hasn't really messed our weapons up too much. We've been sitting at the bonfire enough where it hasn't mattered. Infusions. And check to see we can infuse some weapons here. I'm not going to explore that too much. I want to talk about that in a later episode. We're really going to go in and reinforce our Estus flask. So we're going to use that Estus shard that's in our inventory now. We have this option available to us. So we're going to go ahead and reinforce. Gives us a confirmation here that we have, in fact, reinforced our Estus flask. What this does is it allows us to have more uses of either the regular Estus flask or the FP-centric Ashen Estus flask. Those are the number of drinks that we can take. Once we've done that, we can actually choose to allot it one way or the other. We can put one more flask, and we can have another FP flask, our Ashen Estus flask, which will allow us to do weapon arts, spells, anything like that. Or we can put it in as a regular Estus flask that'll give us more health. Going through this enemy is going to have, or going through this next area is going to have a few more enemies, so I'm going to put this one in as a regular Estus flask, so we're going to go ahead and confirm that. Go ahead and leave.
Be careful. I don't want to see my work squandered.
So we see here, you might be asking, oh, I'm still only seeing 3 Estus flasks on my hotbar. It's because we haven't sat yet, so just reinforcing it and allotting it won't fix the problem of low Estus flasks. You have to actually sit at the bonfire for it to fill back up. So going ahead and doing that, you'll see that number jump up to 4. So with that done, we can jump back over to High Wall of Lothric and go through the rest of the area. Alright, so we're back here. We've already done the side path, so we don't need to bother ourselves wasting our resources with that. We can simply proceed through this other area here. I'll show you the better way to do it this time. So what we really want to do here is we want to take out that lantern enemy first. So we're just going to run up to him. Oh, we don't want to get taken out by those guys, however. So, Being a knight, we did have a little bit more poise than they were able to give back out to us. So we were able to kind of get them down. We are still going to want to drink. We want to manage that health bar as we go through, but the extra Estus flask really, the extra Estus flask really does help us with that. Take out a few more of these enemies so they don't bother us. Now, we're going to take this drop down to the lower path this time because there is an item that you can get right here. Going through the stairs, you don't really have access to it. You have to go around, so it's sort of better to do that upper path first. You can grab a gold pine resin, go ahead and drop down. You've got another shiny there, an enemy. Got another enemy over here. Taking those guys out, you have a few items that you're now able to pick up without too much problem. Some more fire bombs. This will let you look at the next area. Eventually, we will need to be going over here. There are some very important things to our build. A couple of more items I didn't notice that enemies dropped. A few more fire bombs are always good. Now, we can take this ladder down, and this will get us to our next item. Quick little soul item. Now, through this door, if you just run through here without too much of a concept of what's out here, you might end up dying, so I won't really say what's going to happen. I'll just let you see it. Now, as you can see, there's quite a few enemies down that way. Now, we're going to run past, and we're going to go up this way. And we're going to try to get past all of these ambushing enemies and open this door. Now, a few of them might get through. We're going to go ahead and heal up before we deal with them. Can't tell if this enemy is too big to get through the door. It looks like he might be. We're going to go ahead and just take care of them with our fire bombs that we've been picking up. Out this way, there's a couple very good items, but you may have seen that there was something that did take out all these enemies with a fire breath. That was one of our wyverns or dragons that landed just above us. So we're... Jeez, it's so loud. So we're going to go ahead here, and we're going to make it through this area. Another chest there. Not going to grab that right now. Move through this area. We do want to progress to the next bonfire, as it's the most optimized way to move through the first stages of the initial areas of Lothric. Now, what we're seeing here, we've got a pretty big Lothric knight right about there. We probably could take him out, but we're going to just let him pass. And that dragon is so loud on my end. So we're going to try to pass and basically just do this little quick speed run section right up to the next bonfire. I can hear that Lothric knight right on me. Hopefully we can light the fire. Nope. We'll end up fighting this Lothric knight. Oh, does he not notice me? I'm right here. This is quite silly. Oh, here we go. Hoping that I could speed run past the Lothric Knight so I could show you guys how to just quickly get to this bonfire, but taking advantage of the backstab mechanic works quite well against them. We'll pick up this Titanite shard now that he's dead. It's relatively safe up here for us. So we'll go ahead and we'll grab our second bonfire. So this one is called Tower in the Wall. It's our second bonfire in the high wall of Lothric area, past the namesake bonfire. This set of stairs, if I remember correctly, is not anything that we can travel up. Yeah, it's taken out here. So now the only thing that we can really do is head back the other direction. Now, we could either go down this tower that we're on, or we could do a little bit of backtracking and grab some of the things that we missed. So in this room, we'll see that same Lothric Knight that we took out again. He will leave from this room, and then we'll just have this one enemy in here. There's a few more enemies downstairs that we don't quite want to deal with yet, but this very first enemy is pretty easy to take out. He's going to throw a couple knives at you, but doesn't have a lot of health. I probably shouldn't have tried to trade with him. Doesn't really matter too much. The extra flask will help us out. So with that Lothric Knight out of this area, grab an item, a couple enemies we can take out first. Well, that wasn't exactly how we wanted that interaction there to go, but we did get kind of lucky. The game did regen us another flask. So we're going to come back to this room that we were in earlier where the dragon sits on the roof, and we're going to deal with this here. So earlier I had mentioned there are some differences between chests, and this is one of those differences that I'll be mentioning. So really quickly, if we take our binoculars and we go ahead and we zoom in on this chest, we're going to notice a couple things. We'll notice that it looks like it's breathing, and also the chain looks different. It's a different layout of the chain. This is not a regular chest. This is a mimic. If you go ahead and you just try to open this, and this dragon is really loud. Let me turn this dragon down real quick, just for a second. So if you go ahead and you try to open up this chest, you'll go into an animation where it essentially grapples you or grabs you, and it'll just eat away at your health. So you do have to sort of take out the mimic chests before you are able to get whatever might be inside of them. To do that, we're just going to go ahead and fight it like any other enemy, although we will do a charged attack on it, as it is the most optimized way to fight it with a strength build. So we're just going to go ahead and turn our volume back up, and we'll show you how to do that. I think it was around there. Oh, bad. And see, that is the grab animation that I warned about. It will grab you, and it will just chew through your health bar. So unfortunately, even though we knew what was coming, we weren't able to avoid it. It does... I'm not sure if it holds onto your souls or if it lowers the actual amount of souls that you drop, but we will nonetheless have to go back to that room and pick up what we dropped. It wasn't exactly the best setup, having clinked off the wall 2 times. Kind of funny how this game always has the last laugh. So we'll have to refight these enemies here. Hopefully we won't aggro the Lothric Knight this time. But we'll try to fight this knife-throwing enemy a little bit better. We'll let him bounce off our shield. same way that the dogs do, and then we'll just sort of track this knight. Make sure he's not too close at hand. And we'll zoom down that ladder. Grab our souls. And we'll try to fight this guy a lot better than last time. Staying behind them is very, very helpful. Also, managing your stamina is useful. Oh, the grab. The kick also hurts quite bad. But staying behind him is really the best strategy for fighting one of these mimics at a low level like this. We are only a level 10 character, but you will net the deep battle axe from taking him out. We'll explain more about the actual deep battle axe later. When we talk more about infusions, that weapon will be a good thing to come back to. Now out here we are going to have all these enemies, so we're just going to run out, get that dragon to aggro, we'll run past, and now we're going to try to get some of these things. We are going to have to heal or we're going to die. Nonetheless, now, if I was smart, I would have ran back to that room I was in initially and healed up in there. Embering might actually be necessary to make it through that fire, as we do have a very important weapon that we want to pick up. We also now have our souls to pick up. Having that mimic out of the way, it will be a little less of a drain on our resources. We're going to try to do this first part the same way that we've been doing it, by taking out this guy carefully, letting him bounce off our shield, and then trying not to aggro the Lothric Knight. Now, you can actually farm these guys for fire bombs. Now, we want to get our souls back. We also want to get that weapon all the way at the end. So what we're going to try to do first, get our souls back. Trust me, the fall damage is not as bad as the fire damage. Going to Ember up. Heal. Grab that item. Take the fall damage. Heal again. Oh, it's really bad getting knocked down. But we did make it to this door here. So now all we really have to do is just make it back to that bonfire, take our souls back to Firelink, and maybe use them for something from the Shrine Handmaiden. Again, not really trying to get over level 10 here. There are some other items that we could grab right now. This one's relatively easy, so we'll go ahead and do that. A little bit of platforming, but if you're confident with the platforming, it's not too hard of an item to grab. Back in that fire, there's a few more items, but I'm not willing to waste any more resources dealing with that right this second. Now, embering up, we see a couple of signs here. This is what it looks like when you put down your white sign soapstone. It's a PvP item that allows you to be summoned into somebody else's world. Right now, we are what would be considered a host. We could bring a couple of these people into our world, But right now, we just want to make it back to Firelink Shrine, and we want to cash in some of these souls we grabbed. We also did manage to pick up the Claymore, so we're going to take a second to look at that back at Firelink. We're going to be discussing a little bit more about build making there. And I want to start comparing a couple of things to Elden Ring. Now, when I was fighting that Lothric Knight, you might have seen me go into a stance there. That's part of this weapon's weapon art. Now, the Claymore, I go ahead and I look at the Claymore. I don't have quite enough strength to use it right now. I don't have quite enough dex either, so I would have to put in at least 1 point into dexterity and another 3 points into strength to be able to use the Claymore. But if we just go ahead and we try to equip it anyways, we'll get this message that'll tell us we can't quite use it. You can still use it ineffectively. Just to check it out, we'll see that the weapon art for this weapon is also stance, but it is a different type of weapon. So the Claymore is a great sword, which is halfway in between a straight sword and an ultra great sword. A long sword is considered a straight sword. It's a standard thrust straight sword, whereas a Claymore is a standard thrust great sword. So with that being said, they have similar weapon arts. They are quite easy to transition between the two. If you're comfortable with the long sword, a Claymore is kind of an easy move, and that's where we're going to be planning our build to move to. When we hit mid-early game to mid-game, we'll be checking this weapon out a little bit more. But for now, we'll still be sticking with the long sword, as we can't quite use the Claymore due to our stat investment. Now, with the actual souls we picked up,
Ah, well met, Ashen One. How may I be of service?
now in here it'll actually tell you how many you have on hand for any of these items. We're going to go ahead and we're going to be mindful of replenishing our inventories for some of these things. It's always nice to have fire bombs. I'm comfortable with having about 20 of them, as that's about how many that you can carry. Homeward Bone, we already have quite a few of those. Embers, we do only have 1, so I'm going to pick up 1 more Ember for now. We'll go ahead and we'll pick up the Torch. We did pick up this armor set already. Perhaps we'll pick up another shield. Could be good. The Warrior's Round Shield we already picked up to have a weapon skill shield. Although the large leather shield for a parry, the Knight Shield kind of is better than that already. We'll go ahead and we'll just pick up these shields anyways to have them all.
Ashen One, be sure to bring more souls.
Now we'll go ahead and we'll... tempting, very tempting. Show off the organized storage box feature of the bonfire a little bit here. You can actually store items inside of here instead of on your person. When you have more than you can carry, they'll automatically go into the storage box. If you wanted to do a speed build, you could just be popping all of these soul items right away, but I sort of like to stockpile them, as you can't lose them. So I'll play a bit more conservatively off the bat. I'll hold off on that last shield, even though we're very close. We could have just popped a couple of those soul items.
Wow. How many?
But for now, I'll go ahead and I'll just put the rest of this into fire bombs. Since we can buy unlimited fire bombs, we might as well get rid of as many of our souls as we can, as to not lose any. Pick up some prism stones. Get ourselves down to 0 souls on hand, and there's really nothing to lose other than our Embered effect when we go back to Lothric. So now we have 2 bonfires in the High Wall of Lothric area that we can travel back to. We have these 3 bonfires in the Cemetery of Ash area that we can travel to. So we're starting to build out our earlier areas in this game. We've picked up a couple of the PvP items. We've seen how they look. And we'll go ahead and, if those signs are still there, maybe we'll go ahead and summon somebody to make the next areas a little bit easier, since they will be slightly more challenging. I'll have some higher level enemies for us. So we're going to go back over to Tower on the Wall. We sort of dealt with all the other things that we needed to deal with in the High Wall of Lothric Bonfire, but there are some areas that we haven't explored over on the tower yet. So we'll go ahead and we'll zoom over there. It'll be interesting to see. It has been mentioned that some of the weapon arts for weapons will be some of the assets that we see in Dark Souls 3 may or may not, most likely will transfer over to Elden Ring. So it'll be interesting to see if there are shared weapon arts amongst different classes of weapons, similar to how there are in Dark Souls 3. I've heard that you might even be able to change your weapon art altogether on a weapon inside of something similar to how a skill tree would work, almost like in Star Wars Fallen Order. So that would be very interesting to see. We do view a couple, we see one sign here. I may come back for that. I want to explore a little bit right now, so I'm just going to head downstairs. Before I get too involved with PvP, I want to sort of hit the basics in this area. There's a couple important things left to do, especially with our NPC quest lines and our health bar management items. So we're going to go into this room again, and we'll fight this enemy the same way that we have been. There are another 2 of the same type of enemy down here. You can usually plunge one of them from this little beam. Go ahead and we'll do that. And then there's one more that seems to have gotten the ambush. There's another level that we can go to downstairs. I believe it's not worth going to just yet. We're going to want to go out here first. Couple things out here. Some enemies. A little bit of an ambush. We will have to be careful with our stamina management as well. Being that our bar is so low, we can't quite tank some of these hits. We're getting thrown into that shield animation where our shield is knocked back. It's very easy to have a critical happen to you when you're in that animation. Very similar to the animation of backstabbing an enemy. When you are parried, the enemy can perform what's called a riposte on you, and they'll get that critical damage in. Down here, we're going to have a few more enemies. One of them will be another one of those bigger transforming enemies. We're going to try to take him out before he can do anything. They are susceptible to fire damage. So if we take him out with one of those bombs, he won't be able to go into his transformation. Some players would argue that it's actually better to have it go into that animation because you can farm it for embers. Couple things we can grab here. Want to take out that crystal lizard there. Hopefully you guys heard the audio associated with the crystal lizard. It's like a twinkling noise. That tells you that they're around, and they're usually something that gives you pretty cool items when you take them out. We're going to want to go down here. Kind of an annoying little area. Taking out this ambush. Quite nice. Couple more things of note. Down here, we can see some of the next areas we'll be heading to. Pick up some more black fire bombs. This is a dead end. You could drop down here. We'd be skipping some things doing that. The optimized way, in my opinion, you could go through this area. It's a little bit longer. There's quite a few enemies, but there's a very important item over there. I am going to try to open up the shortcut that will allow us to just come back here a little bit more quickly. Have to take a drink after that. Deal with that ambush. Now, we have this very big enemy. Personally, I don't advise even trying to fight him just yet. Heading through here, there's a couple things, but I may save that for later in the stream, so I'm just going to try to get to that shortcut for now. I'm going to try to stay on the opposite side of the statue and get out of here as fast as we can. We're going to want to bang a right up the stairs, guard as we head through. There will be another ambush as we head up these stairs. Honestly, I am just concerned with opening up the shortcut right now, so I'm willing to speed run past these enemies for now. We will come back to kill them later and grab all of those items, but for now, the most optimized thing to do is to get the shortcut available. We will be running past a few more enemies here to get to the bonfire. The teleporting dogs. Once again, we're going to take these souls back to Firelink Shrine. We have just about enough of them now to grab that last shield. If we just farm the enemies surrounding Firelink Shrine for perhaps a couple minutes, we'll have enough souls to pick up our final shield that's in that inventory that we don't have yet. Now I'm wondering, if I head upstairs. Okay, cool. So we do see that there is a fog wall here now. That is telling us that the game is loading the surrounding area for us. Always a good practice to kind of come back to these areas and check if anything's changed. So still no seed. Pretty sure that invader has to be killed. But we'll just make sure that all of these dialogues are still exhausted.
What a sick joke. Asking us. We're talking true legends. What a... asking...
Looks like it. I'm going to check how many souls I need for that shield. Actually, only 600. Let's check our own inventory real quick.
Be sure.
So we're starting to see now some of these slots are becoming a bit more filled out. So yes, we have got our torch here, our leather shield, crimson Parma. We've got our warrior's round shield, east-west shield. We've got our knight shield that we started with. So we're just missing a large leather shield. For 800, we need another 99 souls, so we can just farm a couple of small enemies around here before we do any more of that area. We'll come back through the shortcut to show off how that works. Gonna kill a couple easy enemies around Firelink Shrine just to get up to the 800 souls we need to buy the shield. Go off the plunge mechanic again. Works similar to how a critical works. You don't get quite as much damage as with a critical, but there is definitely some bonus damage associated with plunges. They also take advantage of R1ing. With a critical, you'll have to either be directly behind an enemy's character model hitbox, or you'll have to get a parry, and they'll go into that animation where they're susceptible to being riposted. You'll get some bonus damage through the critical stat on the weapon. It'll show you what the critical damage bonus is. But for plunges, it's sort of vague. You don't ever really know what that bonus is. I don't know if it's affected by the height of the plunge or the weapon class. It's kind of a mystery. I'm sure that someone will eventually figure it out. We're going to head back over. Now that we have that shortcut that I mentioned, we're going to try going that way. And then we're going to try to get back to that same area that we were, where that ambush was, with the crossbowmen and the climbers. And that'll let us go into the building that has the items in it that we need for our build. So we're going to head back over to, let's see here. I think the fastest way for us will actually be the High Wall of Lothric this time, since we'll be taking the shortcut. Alright, so now we can go ahead and take that shortcut. Best way to do it, take out your very first crossbowman. I break these because sometimes you get caught on them when you're coming back here and you're trying to pull a dog up the stairs. Seems like they're probably going to notice us. Come on. Other one might not notice us. We're going to try to just take our shortcut without anything really noticing. That was a very big mistake there. Doesn't really matter too much because that guy, not too smart. I don't think he died though, so we might be bringing him back up to us. Nope. I have a feeling he's just going to be down there now. Maybe he's dead. Nope, not dead. Is dead. Oh, he dropped the Great Axe. We're definitely going to be checking out the Great Axe next time we get back to Firelink. Right now, I just kind of want to get some of these barrels out of the way so that I can see a little bit easier in here. Important not to get staggered by all of these guys. You can see there we're having to use a little bit more of our resources. It would have been optimized to run right up to that ambush and knock the guys off the wall before they even came up here. Through here, there's going to be a couple more enemies that we can take out. I don't think they'll aggro if we go this way. And grab an easy item here. We'll come back for the rest of that later. Now we're going to be trying to do the backwards run that we did last time. Same strategy, picking up any items that we can easily grab on the way back. Getting very lucky there with the game regenning us on our Estus Flask. We're going to head up to this upper platform ambush, if you will. Now we're going to try to head through this room here. We'll do the side area first. Take out the Screamer enemy. Take out the crossbow enemy. Fight these bandit knife enemies. Grab your item if you can. There may be one more that tries to ambush you while you do that. I can't quite remember. Perhaps not. And then got this enemy in here. Undead Hunter Charm. We're going to use an Estus Flask. And best way to fight these guys is with the critical wake-up tactic. Now, trading with them or trying to go through the shield is pretty much impossible. We'll get rid of that little guy there. Grab our broadsword. We'll be checking that item out very soon. For now, we're going to go this way. Very, very fun items in this room. Grab our green blossom. Now, I'm pretty sure the next thing that we want to do here is just drop down. Grab our chest here. Now, I'm trusting it because of the chain. Now, the only area that we can really go to now are these items down here. It's really not safe for us to do this, but I'm going to take the risk because I really just want these items. I would be willing to die for them, I suppose. The souls aren't that many where I would be upset, so we're just going to go for it. We want this item. We want this item. We can get out of here without dying. Nope. Well, taking the death is okay to do there. We didn't have too many souls. A little bit embarrassing, but we managed to pick up that other Estus Shard and the Old Cell Key, both of which are very important to, for progressing through the Lothric initial areas. I'll be taking a close look at those items in just a second. I do sort of want to regain my souls and then go back to Firelink Shrine just so we have everything. So we'll take that shortcut again. Now that we're not embered, we have no fear of being invaded. Yeah, you better be scared. Three bolts. Keep a close eye on our winged knight over there. Just do not have the absorptions to deal with him right now. Much as I would like that item he's guarding. And just try to get past him each time. Well, now that I'm thinking about it, we're really only going back for the souls. But at a certain point, I'm sort of willing to compromise the integrity of killing everything for getting there quickly. I want to skip too many items. There are things back in there that we need, but we do just want to try to at least grab our souls if we can help it. Man. It is hot in this room. Jeez. They're literally gonna hightail it. Oh, thank you, Mr. Sir. Now that half the level is chasing us, actually going to try to just make it out of there with our souls. There's one more item in that room that we did miss. We're going to have to go back there. Although we're not going to have to go all the way downstairs. If we can make it past that shielded Lothric Knight, then we'll be able to grab that one more item in that room that we need. We'll make the most out of that trip, and we'll just make some purchases here. Used one of these. Let's see here. We have 6. We'll just get that up to a nice round 10. Pick up a firebomb or 2. And now that we have that bow, we're going to start piling up on wood arrows to get the rest of our extra souls out of our inventory here.
Ashen one.
And also, there was a few important things that we picked up that we're going to want to talk about now that we're at Firelink. One of those items was another one of those Estus shards. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to reinforce again. Go ahead and we'll allot this time. We're going to continue to put these allotments into our regular Estus flask. We're not a caster. We're going for a pure 60, most likely, somewhere between 40 and 60 strength build. So we won't really be using tons of FP. Perhaps 1 or 2 flasks for weapon arts, things like that. But for now, we're just going to keep putting those allotments into our regular Estus flasks. So we're going to confirm this. Make sure that we're good. Now that we're in Lothric, we could level up if we wanted to. The other thing I mentioned outside of just the character level are the weapon upgrade levels. Inside of Lothric, you're able to be between not upgraded and a +1 weapon. For now, being as though we're not at the boss yet, and we're not really sure exactly the weapon we're going to be using for most of the early game, we're going to hold off on upgrading. If we're able to just challenge ourselves a little tiny bit, then we'll have an easier time with mid-game when we have our stuff available to us. We're going to just check some of these NPCs to see if any of the dialogue options have changed.
Asking, talking.
Still no changes. We do have one new NPC here. So this NPC is associated with a covenant here that we'll learn about more later, but for now we're just gonna see what his dialogue and options are in the menus that he brings up.
Unkindled are we, and fast on the trail of the Lords absconded. Then these red eyes are for you.
So he has given us the Cracked Red Eye Orb, which is a PvP item that allows us to have a one-time invasion shot where we basically connect with another player at a similar soul level range to us. Now, this is why staying inside of your soul level range that is recommended is important, because it will maximize the use of these items. He's given us 5 of them.
Use them to pillage embers and briefly heighten your strength for your duty. What else are unkindled ashes good for? Pillage embers for briefly heightened strength for your duty. What else are unkindled ashes good for? Pillage. What else?
And with that, his dialogue is exhausted. We will be wanting to continue to check the spot, as his presence here, along with the options in his menu, along with his dialogue, will all be changing as we complete the checklist of events inside his quest line. So we're going to want to continue to move through, see if anything else has changed here at Firelink.
Tis what? Direct, simple, reinforcing. Bring the stones, it's my purpose in battle.
Same dialogue there.
How? Ashen One, bring me up with, is it not? Ashen One, be sure.
Welcome home, speak. Ashen One, to be unkindled is to be a vessel for souls. Sovereignless souls will become thy strength. I will show thee how, Ashen One. Bring me souls, plucked from their vessels. Ashen One, farewell, Ashen One. May the...
Making sure all of our dialogues aren't changing in any way. We want to make sure if there's anything available to us that we get those events checked off.
Fret not, fret not. My feet are here firmly planted. For I am a lord, and this is my throne. Knowest thou of our birth? 5 of 8, so it is. I may be but... Now, do not be away over long.
Pretty much seems like all of those dialogues are moved along as far as they need to be. A couple of things that I want to go through before going back to the high wall area. Some of those items that we picked up. We're going to go and hit our bonfire real quick so that we can see everything in our storage box. We're going to go ahead and make a practice of stashing all of these soul items, as we're going to just use them later when we really, really need them. Right now, we don't seem to be having too much of a problem. Let's go ahead and look at our tools first. So we went ahead and we were able to pick up the cracked red-eye orb. Is a PvP item. We'll go ahead and we'll just look at that for a second so you guys can see the description. So you can see essentially that it allows you to go to a host's world and have a chance at trying to kill them, at which point you'll be able to pillage a ember. That ember you'll be able to pop in your own world for the embered health effect, as well as the being able to summon other players. So that is basically the mechanic early game to farm embers from other players. We're going to look at some of these upgrade materials here. We've got the Titanite shards, which are huge for early game to upgrade weapons. We have 4 of them, so that allows us to do a couple of upgrades. We've got a Titanite scale. That's for upgrading a different type of weapon, which will become more discussed later on. And then we've got our first gem here, which is the raw gem. We can bring this to Andre for the raw infusion on a weapon. We've also got a new key item here. We haven't really been talking much about key items, but they're extremely important for quest lines, and it's going to be very important for the quest line for an NPC in Lothric, which we will look at when we go back to that area. This is the cell key. We'll be using this to unlock a pathway that allows us to have a conversation that'll kick off a very beneficial relationship for an NPC quest line that is very central to this playthrough here. It's sort of intertwined with the quest lines of a few other NPCs, so we want to make sure that we don't screw this up. Now that we have the cell key, it would probably be recommended that either you should know that you shouldn't do any slaving before you get this NPC back to Firelink. We'll have that part of the video later, but I wouldn't do any trades with other players until this NPC is back at Firelink and you've talked to him at least once there. I would even go so far as to say to do a save backup before you slave anything out after having completed all of the initial stages of the quest line. There was one situation where I was playing with another person and we did a few trades before even grabbing this item, and the quest line was canceled like immediately. We weren't even able to have the conversation. His ashes were just dead in the spot where you usually find him for the first time. So I wouldn't do any slaving out of anything to a new character before you've had that quest line get kicked off. Now that we have the cell key, we can start to do that. So we're just going to double check that we have no souls really to lose. So we're going to go ahead, travel back over. This time, now that we have that room unlocked, don't really want to be taking the shortcut. So we're just going to go back over to Tower on the Wall, and we'll go the normal way, and we'll grab that one item in that crappy building with the shielded Lothric Knight. Probably in a little bit, once we get to the end of this video, I'll be taking a run at the boss, where I'll be summoning a NPC character. At that point, I'll probably be more than open to playing with some actual player characters. Right now, I just want to make sure that I get all the items. I don't really want to summon anybody in just yet. I don't want to waste your guys' time running around aimlessly and grabbing items, dying, and going back to Firelink. So once we've got all the main things that we want for our build from this area, I'll be more open to summoning people. But I do really appreciate that you want to play, and I really appreciate that you left a comment and that you've come to watch a little bit of the video. Sorry that I may have responded to that a bit late, but we'll be more into summoning some players once we're ready to do the boss fight. So we're going to go ahead and go downstairs from here. We're going to stay unembered for now. Just it'll make picking everything up easier. Be summoning some people either at the end of this video, or we'll do a whole separate video for the boss fight. So we're just going to try to take the same path that we did last time. Get that plunge. These guys are kind of hard to avoid. They're really hard to see down here. Let me know if the video is really dark for you guys too. It might just be because I have my brightness on my monitor low. We'll take out the ambush this time first. Guy's not even coming up. Yo, Reaper Angel, thanks for being wicked cool. I appreciate the love. And try to use the same strategy on this guy over here. I just don't want to deal with him doing that right now. Maybe we'll show how to farm those guys in a little bit. There's really a lot of great videos on that already. We're just kind of trying to build our strength build out. Amazing that this ambush, one part of it always gets me. No. You get backstabbed, person. Alright, so we're going to try to get past this Lothric net again. We're going to draw him back into this room. You don't want to fight him up against the wall. Again, getting backstabs and doing wake-ups is really the best way to deal with these guys. I mean, you could just stagger them down had you upgraded your character or your weapon a bit more, but we're really trying to stay inside of the recommended soul level range. There's really one item downstairs that we missed that we want to get. Pretty sure it's a shield. So just have to take out a couple enemies. Not going to talk about it too much, but if you check out the chain, nice and curved. It's an actual chest. We get our silver eagle kite shield. That is really all we needed from here. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to teleport back. I think I went to Firelink Shrine. I didn't really want to do that. Yeah, we went all the way back to Firelink Shrine. Go ahead and make sure. Yeah, that's all the same. So the last thing we really need to do is we need to do that NPC conversation. Grab one of these since we used one of these. We'll stockpile some more of these bombs. One soul left, can't do anything with it. And we'll head back over to... Let's see, we really want to do that NPC conversation. I'm just trying to remember the fastest way to get to him. Pretty sure is from Tower on the Wall, and you just go downstairs as far down as you can go. There's also a different quest line in that area too that I always get mixed up. I know there's the one that has to do with the NPC with the triangular hat, Leonard, that we just met back at Firelink. And then there's the other NPC quest line that's associated with the key item that we just got in our inventory. So we're just going to go downstairs as far down as we can go. Every time we go to this room, it's pretty much the same strategy. Let the Lothric Knight go along his way, unless you're trying to farm him for some reason. Plunge the guy. Kill the other guy. I would recommend healing before going down again. We're not going to go outside this time. We're just going to go straight down. Terrible. Why it would have been nice if I had a little bit of that embered health, but really trying not to do that right now. I don't want to waste too many resources. F those guys. That's right. Alright, so now this area here. See if he does it. He's not going to do it, I'm going to do it. That one frustrates me. Do it. Alright, so we'll take him out. Grab our mail breaker. One more item in this room. I'm pretty sure. Taking a right out of this one. Ah, yes. Very important part of the game here. This is central to what we're doing in this playthrough. This is an NPC quest line initiation here. So we're going to go ahead and use the cell key, have ourselves a little conversation with this dude here.
Ah. You're no jailer, are you? No, you're from far away. And judging by the bell, you must be some of that unkindled ash. Remarkable. If that's true, then I have a favor to ask. Below the high wall is a musty little town. Not the home of any lord, just a very old settlement of undead. An old woman, Loretta, lives there. Please, give her this ring. I'm not asking for charity. In fact, if you do this for me, I'll be sure to repay you in kind. I may be a petty thief, but I've more wits than most royalty. What do you say then, huh?
We're gonna go ahead and grant the request.
Very well. I humbly place my faith in you. I am Grey Rat of the Undead Settlement, and I promise to assist you. Give this ring to old Loretta at the base of the high wall. Do your part, and I'll do mine.
So he goes ahead and he teleports away from here. We get the blue tier stone ring in the process, which he is wanting us to give to another NPC at the base of the high wall. That was his dialogue, so we're going to go ahead and click OK. He teleports away. Now we can either continue through or we can teleport back to Firelink Shrine. I'm going to go ahead and teleport back to Firelink Shrine. Now, it'll be really interesting to see what the NPC mechanics work like in Elden Ring, to see if... because in this game, it seems like NPCs do have the ability to teleport just the same as we do. I wonder if it'll be like that in Elden Ring as well, or if they'll be hard linked to certain areas and not even move. Some games, the NPCs just sit there. They don't ever move at all. Some games, they move around. Some games, they show up in multiple spots. It's very interesting. So I'd be wondering, and I'd be curious in Elden Ring to see what that works like. So we come back to Firelink. We see that all of the same NPCs are still here, but now, if we go down to the left, we have that same one that we just met. Right here, right now.
Oh, hello, you're back. And in one piece. Well, now it's time I do my part. Whatever trinket you need, speak up. Just don't ask me where I got them.
So Grey Rat works very similar to the way that the Shrine Handmaiden works, where basically we can buy things from him. He's a bit of a merchant. His inventory changes in a different way from the Shrine Handmaiden. We'll start to talk about the differences as we go through the game. We are already familiar with how the Shrine Handmaiden's inventory is changing and how it does change. The items that actually show up in the two of them have a bit of overlap, but the way they function is different. So we'll talk about that more later as we go through. For now, we can go ahead and get standard bolts. We can get fire arrows, which will be kind of cool. We can't really afford that many of them, but we'll just kind of pop a couple of those in our inventory. We'll get rid of the extra souls. 3 left isn't really much. We'll check out his dialogue.
Do me a favor and don't forget our promise. Give this ring to old Loretta at the base of the high wall. A nuisance, I know, but it will help me tie up some loose ends. Do me a favor, give this a news. Goodbye, and stay safe. Oh, this place is a bore. What good is thievery if you've nowhere to go?
Well, that pretty much wraps up his dialogue for now. Earlier we mentioned ring slots. We have 4 ring slots. We still only have 2 rings, so we might as well go ahead and put this one on. He did mention that we'll be needing to give this to another NPC later on in the game. If you're new, I won't spoil anything. So we'll talk about that more as it becomes apparent. But for now, we can go ahead and we can put this ring on, as it will net us some benefit. The one thing I am noticing now is if we look at our weight ratio, we're a little bit heavy. So in order to wear this ring, we'd have to make some sacrifices here. So we could change our shield. This new shield that we picked up isn't really any better, but it is also heavier. The one thing that's different is it has a weapon skill ability instead of a parry ability, so we could go straight into the weapon art without having to put the shield on our back. We picked up a couple things, a couple more weapons. We'll talk about these later. This one we can't even use yet. I think for now the best thing for me to do would actually be to lighten my gauntlets out, as I don't want to... I'll put the fashion. Fashion, though. Yeah, we can't have that. Go ahead. And this is hard. We're going to ditch the short sword, as it's really more of a dexterity weapon. I liked the idea of being able to L2 out of the dagger for after quick stepping, but I don't really see myself with a strength build using a short sword too much, so we're going to get that off the build. That gives us some leeway to have some more rings on there, and to maybe mess around with changing our shield out as we go through. But for now, what we could do is we could put the mail break. No, that would still be a little too heavy. Broadsword's a little too heavy. I haven't talked about it too much yet. It's very similar to the longsword, actually, but it's even more strength scaling. So let's look at the actual damage difference here. is 8 points on the AR. So it might be worth using the broadsword a little bit. We'll check out the weapon art of that. We notice the range isn't quite as long. Scaling is much better. Weapon art is similar. Moveset is a little bit different. With the longsword, we sort of have... I don't think we get that sweeping attack with the longsword, if I remember correctly. Yes, we get a poke with the longsword. So I do really enjoy the poke. Although the scaling is going to be a little bit better on the broadsword, so it would be slightly more optimized to use this just from getting that extra AR. We'd sacrifice our range a little bit. So let's see here. We'd lose the poke. We lose a little bit of range, but we get more AR. Let's see what the two-handing difference is. So the two-handing difference... 138 versus... 130, I mean, it's 8 points. That poke is really great, and having the range from the longsword is amazing. I'm very comfortable with the weapon. So I'm going to try to see what it's like to just leave the longsword on here and to trust the initial build. We might be using the claymore pretty soon, so it might not matter too much between the longsword and the broadsword anyways. Let's see here. There's one more NPC-related thing to do inside of the High Wall of Lothric area before we kick off the boss fight. I'm thinking with the length of this stream, that might be a separate video so that we can get some other players going in here and have a really fun time with our second boss fight before we travel out of this area. For now, I think the fastest way to get there is going to be to take that shortcut that we opened up earlier in the video. Alright, so we're going to be back at the High Wall of Lothric for this part. We'll take that same backwards path that we did. Taking out our crossbow. Enemy closest to the bonfire first. Come on, pup. You're annoying, but you're no Great Wolf. Yeah. Alright, so we'll grab our elevator real quick. Try to see if I can do that ambush right. Nope. Absolutely not the thing we wanted. Reminding me that you do have to be a little bit more conservative with the R1ing on those enemies there. Alright. Now, if we just kind of make sure this guy doesn't get too close to us. And he's just going in circles right now. He must really want me to die. I really don't want to die right now, so we're going to try to ignore him the best we can. Grab this item here. We've got a bunch more Lothric Knights over here. We're going to want to go through this area and pick up the items over here. They're not super important for a strength build, but there's really no good reason not to pick them up. So we'll try to take out this one with the spear first. The shielded enemies with the great shields are pretty annoying. We don't want to fight two of them at once. Definitely not what we want to do. So in Dark Souls 3, there's something called an invisible wall, where essentially the enemy's patrol range can't extend past that point. This door is one of those spots, so if you really wanted to take these enemies out, you could go back out there, take advantage of this invisible wall, and just kind of take them out, draw them over here, pull them back, what have you, throw in a luring skull. There's one item that we want to grab. I'm not super concerned with killing them, I just want the item. Just to have it. They are pretty good to farm if you're looking to get the Lothric armor, the Lothric shield, any of their weapons, the Great Shield, or if you're looking for a particular Covenant item, you can farm them. We're wanting to do the NPC interaction in this room.
The wait has been long, unkindled one. I am Emma, High Priestess of Lothric Castle. Allow me to speak frankly. You will not find the Lords of Cinder here. They have left, gone, to their journey homes, converging at the base of this castle. Head to the bottom of the high wall, forge on through the great gate, and raise this banner to proceed. This farewell gift is for you. It is the insignia of an old covenant. If you fear trespassers, dark spirits drawn by the embers, then etch this upon your heart, and the old Concord will beckon noble blue sentinels to hunt these foul spirits. Unkindled one, head to the high wall's base. Go through the great gate and raise this banner to proceed. But beware, the dog keeps a close eye on things. The vile watchdog of the Boreal Valley. Unkindled one, go through the great gate and raise this banner to proceed. But beware, the dog keeps a close eye on things. The vile watchdog of...
And with her dialogue exhausted, we are free to move on to the final part of Lothric. It is the boss fight. I figure with the length of this stream, it's probably a good point to cut it off here. There's a couple more things I want to discuss before I do the boss fight. For anybody who's looking to do the most optimized version, saving here and going ahead into the boss fight would be the most optimized way to do things. You'd probably want to ember right before the door. We're going to do a couple more things before we go ahead and do the boss fight, as we are cutting off the stream here. So I'll probably come back later today with a short intro where we talk about optimizing the loadout a little bit more before we go and do the boss fight, and a couple other things that'll help us before going into that second fight. But for now, thank you anybody who's watched or commented. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening.